I've mentioned this on stream a few times over the years. Back in college, my friends and I used to go to a bowling alley for happy hour and just get absolutely sloppy and bowl. It's just a primitive joy. And somehow, I guess the alcohol unlocked 100% of my brain power. It was like the pill from Limitless, and I just was nasty at bowling. I would occasionally go over 200, and I kind of retired from it, hung up the old bowling shoes back in like 2014. So it's been about a decade since I've been absent from the sanctuary, but the lanes still beckon me. I can still hear them crying out for my return. And I finally answered the call yesterday. I went on a date, and bowling was the activity that was chosen. And I don't think she knew exactly what kind of ancient evil she was unleashing on those lanes. For the first couple games, I goofed around a little bit, but on the last game, I decided to dust off the cobwebs, shake off the rust, and I awakened a demon that had been slumbering for a while, and this was the result. I showed absolutely no mercy. It was cutthroat. I was shitting on her like I had a scat fetish. I'm sure I ruined the date, but man, I gained something far more valuable. A bowling talent, the likes of which the world had never seen. But unfortunately, it hit midnight right after I got that strike, and they shut down the bowling alley mid-game, shut it off, took it offline, and I couldn't finish it, which I thought was just downright sinful, and it actually kept me awake last night. So I went bowling today just to get back out there and see if I could do it, and I can fucking do it. The first couple games, I was just getting a feel for her, trying to figure out her oil patterns and get to know her, and the ball wasn't catching the way I'd usually like it to with my spin. So I decided instead of going for a really outrageous spin like I've been known for, I instead went for more power and less spin. And I of course always grab the heaviest ball here, so that way I throw like a fucking grenade down there so the pins just explode and give me the best chance of a strike. I got over 200 a couple times, but nothing I was super proud of, so this one's 5 strikes in a row to close out at 200 even. Also, filming in public is so shameful for me, but I knew if I was just taking pictures no one would believe me, because no one ever does when I talk about it on stream, so I had to set this shit up by putting it in my shoe and putting it on a chair and hoping nobody saw this embarrassment from me. And the angle is abominable. I look like Sasquatch, but with the flattest ass of all time. My sweatpants make it look like I'm wearing a diaper. But anyway, the 205 strikes to close it out, it's not bad, but I wasn't super thrilled about it either. I knew I had it in me to do better. So I channeled my inner Pete Weber. I said, damn it, right? Who do you think you are? I am! And I put together this masterpiece. Showcasing proper bowling etiquette, letting the people around me go first, waiting for my opportunity to strike. Once the coast was clear, it was go time. And bingo, bango, bongo, a beautiful strike. A heat-seeking missile, blasting the pins, showing them who the boss is, kicking this off in the right way. Frame number 2, same song and dance, you know how this story goes. Right down the pipe like a skilled surgeon, bang. Another strike. Frame number 3 for that sacred turkey, easy. Not even a challenge for the master here. Textbook technique, executed flawlessly per usual. In an absolute flow state, the quad, yep, that was guaranteed. Mom, get the camera, I'm gaming. I now notice the camera's not really doing justice to the speed at which I'm throwing that lumber down there. The velocity on this shit has to be Mach 3. The only thing this camera's able to catch is the bowling ball's after image, because I am absolutely launching it like a railgun down the lane. I'm averaging over 15 miles per hour per toss here. I'd usually like to get a little bit higher than that, but I was getting a little fatigued, I'll go ahead and admit it. Now, here comes the pentakill. Does he have it in him? Does he? Well, yeah, he does. Just like the Writers Guild, I'm going on strike. 5 in a row, we're already off to a great start here. In fact, the best start you can have. It's the perfect game right now. I don't believe in human emotions, so I wasn't feeling any nerves whatsoever. The 6th frame, also known as the hardest frame in bowling, unfortunately, my Achilles heel. I got a bit of a bad run up there, lost my balance, and ended up missing it. The ball just kind of squeaked out of my hands a little early there from a bad run up, so it happens, is what it is. Even the best bowlers in the world have something like that happen from time to time. But when it comes to spares, I usually don't miss these. I am an absolute monster when it comes to picking these up, so that one was in the books the second it left my hand. So we're still cooking up a wonderful stew here, a beautiful dish. On the 7th frame, I come back outside your window with a boombox in hand playing your favorite song. It's the one where I get the strike. So that was back to business, so we're right back on the saddle again. We had a bit of a hiccup there with that 9, but I got the spare, so we're still in good shape. Frame 8, I heard someone make a wish upon a shooting star that I'd get the back-to-back once again, so I did. Another double, because what else am I gonna do up there? I'm in my element right now. It's still looking like I can squeak out an incredible game, and I am. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the spoilers right now. I crank out the best game I've ever bowled, and this is, again, after a decade's worth of rust and grime build-up here. So now we're on the 9th frame, and it's looking pretty good. That's exactly where I want it to be, but tragedy strikes, unfortunately. That little bastard over there, that was the worst pin to survive my onslaught, because since I don't bowl that often, I don't practice picking this up anymore. I used to be really good at this wacky spin you're going to see me do right here. Like 9 times out of 10, I was automatic with that shit, but unfortunately here, I miss it by a fucking millimeter. I manscaped it. I shaved it on the way by. I gave it a little kiss, a little smooch, but it wasn't enough to knock it over. So, an empty frame, which is a bowler's greatest shame. So, I still had a chance to turkey out and get an incredible score. It's another beautiful bowl, but again, tragedy strikes once again, lightning in the same place. You hate to see it. Another 9, but this time it's in a position where I don't miss these. I think I could do this with my eyes closed and thumb up my ass. So easily pick up this spare, no sweat about it. And I just wanted to at least close it out with a strike because it deserved it. This game deserved to be at least finished with a strike. 3 9s is a heartbreaker because those could have easily been strikes. They were so close to being strikes as well. It's just a real shame. So here's last bowl of my amazing game. It looks great, right where you want it. I got excited, and then once again, another 9. 3 9s to close it out for a 235. 235 is the best game I've ever bowled, but it's kind of bittersweet because I got 4 9s there that were really, really close to just being strikes because it was pretty much exactly where I wanted it, except for the one run-up that was a little off and it had the bowling ball slip out a bit. But the other 3 could have absolutely been strikes. They were surgical. And it's just a shame that it just wasn't today. Today, I just wasn't fully him. I was partially him. I was a piece of it. I was he, but not him. Next time, though, I got a good feeling about a perfect game. This shows I can do it. Like, I really feel as though I can do it. And I'm using house balls, by the way. Like, this isn't custom bowling balls or anything that I'm bringing here. I'm just using the standard old house balls. And I feel like if I did get a custom ball, it'd probably be a little bit more smooth for me. But it's not that big of a deal to me. I'm not trying to go pro with it or anything. Though I might be looking at some recruitment offers after this showcase here. It's just, man, I know I can get that perfect game. And I wanted to stay a little bit longer and keep bowling, but I also didn't really want to just like peter out. I kind of wanted to finish on top just because I'd already done 6 games. Like I was starting to get a little worn out. So next time I get out there in the Crucible, I really think I put together a 300. So just wanted to show this off because a lot of people always doubt me when I say that I used to be really good at bowling. I'm still good at bowling, and I was then too, and somehow I'm even better now. I have found fucking 5th gear here. I'm really leveling up now. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. How far would you go for greatness to accomplish what few others have? To etch your name in the tablets of time among some of the finest humanity has ever seen. In my pursuit of perfection, I've dabbled in forces many deem unnatural. What started as simply a botched date activity has now led to an obsession, and I couldn't be more thankful for that happy little accident. The woman couldn't have possibly known what this would awaken inside of me. This was an important moment in my life. It was like Mozart finding the piano. This is my calling. Bowling a perfect game. A 300. 12 consecutive strikes. Is there anything more beautiful on this earth? I know I can do it. I have the God-given ability. It's just a matter of reaching my potential. So obviously I invested in some high-quality gear. I got a bowling ball. It's called a Rhino. At least I had it until yesterday when I fucking left it at the bowling alley and now it's vanished. Someone else has stolen it. So this video is going to be a funeral service for my custom bowling ball, as well as also an update on my bowling journey. This bowling ball, I was really starting to come into my own with. I was developing some forbidden jutsu with it. This fucking bowling ball was like a special grade cursed tool. Let me go ahead and show you some of the footage from yesterday, and this is only my second outing with it, and now it's gone forever. But I want you to see my progress when it comes to consistent bowling. I now very, very rarely go under 200 in a game. I'm like a 200 average bowler for the most part. The Grease Goblin steps up, and I'm analyzing the oil here, so I start to really find the pocket that I'm looking for, and I dial in on it. I just start beating it like it owes me money here. I'm tossing that silly little stone down there at fucking Mach speed. I'm surprised I'm not leaving fire trails behind it like the DeLorean traveling back in time. So an easy turkey. This game I started off hot by just launching 50-mile-per-hour fastballs down there with blistering speed at this 15-pound bowling ball, so the turkey was a nice start. Then I got a little stinky in the middle there, but then I used that stink to my advantage and powered myself with the odor and had a really strong finish. I am launching the lumber down there with the precision of a sniper, and I'm hitting the pocket every single time right where I want it. It's textbook. I am also blasting it. I am fucking firing this cannonball down there more effectively than an actual cannon would. So I finish it off with quad strikes, which gives me a 211, which isn't bad, but I'm not super proud of the score. The reason I'm showing that game is actually because I carry this momentum into the next game. Before continuing, I want to explain something about the previous game you just saw. The astute observers, or the bowling veterans amongst you, will have noticed that the first 4 frames were a different color, and that's because they were edited. So I'm treating this journey like it's a speedrun. I'm an active speedrunner, so what I'll often do is reset. I'm only here for the perfect game, so anytime I get something less than a strike, I'll usually just delete the frames and start over, because I don't really care about a super high score all that much, so I just usually say it's not worth finishing if I pick up a spare or something. So what I did in that one was I got a spare on frame 4, I reset the game, started again, and then I just decided I'll finish this one out so I can get a little more practice because I wasn't getting deep runs. So I'm breaking the magician's code there and revealing that secret. I'm really just pursuing the perfect game. Just like a douchebag at a sports game looking for some attention, I'm streaking. So for those of you counting, that's 5 in a row. Like clockwork. A well-oiled machine. And you know me better than you know your own mother by this point, so you know I'm good for 6 in a row here. I'm not gonna choke these. But it does give you a little frightening jump scare there with that one pin that debated staying up, but then his friend said, nah, brother, just hit the deck. I step back up to the plate here, ready to go for 7 in a row, and unfortunately a malfunction occurs, which is the bowling alley's attempt at icing me, unfortunately. After the kind bowler to my right fixed everything for me, I come back up, and I'm still so fresh. 7 in a row is no problem at all, baby. I'm blowing those pins up like I'm throwing grenades at them. Now I'm coming up for 8 in a row, which will tie my personal best, and unfortunately, I missed the pocket, and I give myself a split, which couldn't be more tragic. But then it did get more tragic when I left that ball behind, and now it's just gone. It fucking sent straight to the back rooms, I suppose. I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry to the Rhino. That ball was really starting to cook for me. So my personal best for strikes in a row is 8. So it would have been nice to at least tie it, but I fell a bit short. I'm getting close though. Like I am on the cusp. I really do believe, given a bit more time and more practice, I can get a perfect game. Now, I've mentioned this on stream, and it's something my friends and I have talked about quite a bit. We're really trying to like rent out a bowling alley for 24 hours and just doing this 24-hour stream until one of us gets a perfect game, because I'm not the only one that bowls in our group. Aaron's very good, Danny's very good, and Matt's really good. Matt used to be one of the top bowlers in Florida when it came to doubles. I think his top game is a 289, so he's already got all the tools and the capability to pull it off. So I thought it'd be a really fun stream to just do this 24-hour non-stop bowling stream till one of us gets a perfect game, and if none of us gets a perfect game, we donate like 20 grand to the viewers. So you know how I do the giveaways on stream, like the money giveaways to a bunch of random viewers? We just amplify the amount that would be given away for one of those streams as a result of not getting a perfect game or something like that. We've been workshopping and theory crafting a lot of fun ideas around it, because all of us are into bowling now. Like this was Aaron Ridley and I going bowling, like the clips you saw here. It's just so fun getting out there on the lanes. I don't know, man. I forgot how good bowling felt. So I think we probably will pull the trigger on that stream at some point. I just don't know when. Surprisingly, it's really hard to find a bowling alley that's down to just let you live there for 24 hours and stream the whole thing. I thought it'd be a little easier to find like a commission rate for something. I thought like maybe they'd do that for, like fucking Big Lebowski or whatever, a bowling movie. Not that there's a ton of those, but like a movie that needs a bowling alley. I thought they'd have something like that set up, but they usually don't. So it's been a lot of back and forth. I'm hopeful that we'll get that going at some point because I really do think that would slap. And I think instead of just making it like 20,000 if we don't get a perfect game, I think it's like, we still do like a big money giveaway to the viewers after the stream, and hopefully one of us gets the perfect game at some point throughout the 24 hours. I just think there's so much we can do with that. And I think bowling's fun to watch. I've been into like bowling YouTuber content recently. I've been looking up all kinds of fucking mechanisms and shit and trying to figure out like the best techniques, well, not necessarily techniques, because I feel like I have my own technique and I don't want to start disrupting. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't want to start like integrating all of these other ingredients and put too many cooks in the kitchen of my brain here, and then I end up being the worst bowler of all time because I'm confusing myself. But I've been looking up a lot of like bowling science, like 16 pound versus 15 pound versus 14 pound when it comes to like ball deflection and pin action and shit like that. Also like what miles per hour is optimal for like consistent strikes, finding the pocket, learning the oil patterns, figuring out how to catch better. Like I really have been deep in the bowling lore and getting a handle on it to try and master this art. And I think I'm getting there. So I'm going to continue to update you all on my bowling progress because I will fucking do it. I'm trying to gather all of these skills, like being a perfect game bowler. I also do want to do like the hole-in-one challenge at some point too, but right now I'm focused on bowling, so that'll be down the line perhaps. But anyway, just wanted to share this. That's really about it. So yeah. Earlier this year, I embarked on a quest, a noble journey to bowl a perfect game. It's an accomplishment achieved by few but chased by all. If you put every single human being on a global leaderboard, the amount of people that have bowled a perfect game is probably less than 10,000. I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass. I'm making things up. It's very hard to bowl a perfect game. Not many people do it. But I wanted to be among these elite few that pull it off. So I bought my own bowling ball, a Rhino, which I immediately lost on the first day of me using it. After it was spit out by the ball return, I forgot to take it home. I didn't mean to leave it in the dust like that. I didn't plan on going out to buy milk and never returning, but I left it cold and alone, and somebody else took it. Hopefully to a household that can appreciate it. So I was never able to get the Rhino back, and since losing it, since it shed its mortal coil, I hadn't actually gone back to the lanes since. Not because I'm necessarily, like, bedridden with guilt over the bowling ball, but just because I just hadn't had a whole lot of opportunities to get back out there, and then it just started slipping my mind. So it's actually been close to like 5 months since I bowled, and this morning the lanes beckoned me, and I answered the call. There was a lot of rust to shake off, gotta, get the cobwebs out. But overall, it wasn't terrible, so I want to show you how it went. It's been so long since I've been back in church here, so I had to get my technique back, so I started with really long, exaggerated leg kicks like something Hua Rang would throw out in Tekken 8, and it felt okay, but I was mainly just getting 9s like this. But luckily, my spare game is automatic. It's the safest bet you could ever make that I'm going to pick up a spare, clean up my little mess. It's more guaranteed than the sun rising in the morning. So I get my spares and I'm back to throwing down the fucking lumber and once again just picking up 9s. But surprisingly, my little southpaw backhand maneuver here, the little reach around where I give it the reverse spin, was feeling really good. Also, apologies for how zoomed in the camera is on my cheeks. It's just focused on my keister, kind of like the old ass cam meta on Twitch. But anyway, I started to find my groove and getting the strikes back, even ran into the ball return for good measure. And just when I thought I found the sweet spot again, the clitoris betrays me and it's no longer stimulating my strikes. So unfortunately, I'm here with a split that I have to navigate my way through. But like I said, my spare game has been automatic. Now, I know it's not exactly a nightmare split, we're not talking 7-10 or something, this is kind of Weenie Hut Jr. splits, but you still have to be pretty precise with the placement, and I was able to do that perfectly like a surgeon. Next frame, I pick up another classic 9, but I get it once again with the little reverse spin. This used to be a problem pin for me, that 10 pin right there was always kind of a disaster since I throw righty, but using the reverse spin like that, I was actually able to cut it and get it most times without issue. So now I'm buckled back in, the demon is ready to rear its head, and here comes a beautiful fucking strike. The grenade goes down, soaring at like a beautiful fucking 14 miles per hour. Bingo, bango, bongo. I'm kidding, it's also a 9. Now this pin's life is flashing before its eyes. It knows it's in a terrible position right here. This is a very easy pickup, easier than picking up your mother at the local World of Beers. It's in more danger than an astronaut on a Boeing Starliner, because when you're bowling righty, that pin is just so fucking free to pick up for a spare. Ideally though, you just get a strike, but if you're forced to have one pin stay up, it's best to be that one. I guess I should explain why the audio is muted here, because I know a lot of people are probably disappointed you can't hear the satisfying explosion of these pins, especially when I get some stellar pin action like this with this beautiful roll. A little Brooklyn action for you, that's what it's called when you get a strike from that direction. The reason I muted is because the astute observers amongst you with keen eyes may notice that there's music videos playing in the back right there. Well, they're pumping 2000s boner jams throughout the entire facility, and that would be the quickest path to a DMCA imaginable. Full disclosure, this is not the same game. I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes here. I didn't bowl that great. I just kept resetting games that were looking like a lost cause. The best I had was like a 200 or some shit. It wasn't very impressive, but it has been so long since I've been out here that I shouldn't have expected much more. Yet I was still kind of upset with myself because I know that I have the ability to be an easy 200 average bowler. A few months ago when I was in prime athletic condition for bowling, I was out here a fucking menace. I was absolutely killing these pins. I was murdering them. And now I'm just kind of lightly tapping them. So back-to-back strikes here. Again, that's just business as usual. But today that was the best I could do. Again, this is a different game and I really just couldn't quite find the sweet spot. Like, it looked textbook when I did get in there and tease it a couple of times with, like, my proper technique, but I couldn't consistently get there. There is a pin that's still spinning down there from that last strike. That shit was going like a fucking load of laundry in a washing machine. Like, I was blasting those pins. I was throwing fucking asteroids down the lane, yet I just could not manage to string together a lot of strikes, because I'm always ending up with 8s and 9s, mainly 9s, but it just has been so long that I needed to hop back on the saddle again and remember how to ride. Bowling's a lot like riding a bike. You never really forget, but you definitely do get a lot worse at it if you don't keep up the practice. So I'm going back on my journey to bowl the perfect game to get a 300. So today I was only launching house balls, which severely nerfs any good bowler's ability. Any bowler worth their salt will tell you house balls are suboptimal. You know, you're only as good as the tools that you use, and those tools, house balls, it's like using a Fisher-Price hammer, when what you need is a real hammer, a new blue hammer. So I didn't leave empty-handed today. I got this little treat. Take a look at this puppy. So this is the hammer, and this right here is my Excalibur. When I entered into the pro shop, I heard it whispering to me like the One Ring did to Gollum, and I knew this was the ball. After the employee told me that this is probably my best bet to bowl 300. So the guy who was working at the pro shop was super nice and super helpful. So I told him what the goal was. I'm sure I'm not the only goober who went in there saying, I want to bowl a perfect game, what do you recommend? But he said the new blue hammer here, my trusty steed, is probably the best bet to accomplish that, and told me that there's a bowler named AJ Rice who actually just bowled a 900 using this puppy right here. That's 3 perfect games in a row, and I watched the clip. Not only did he bowl 3 perfect games, he bowled 3 perfect games on 3 different pairs. That's extremely impressive. And if he can do 3 perfect games in a row using this, why can't I get 1 perfect game at some point in my life, right? Like, it only mathematically makes sense. You know, just crunch the numbers. I'm guaranteed a perfect game at some point. It's just a matter of when. And hopefully soon. So I'm getting back out there on the lanes. I've got my new blue hammer by my side, my big iron on my hip, and I'm going to be launching fucking cannonballs down there, I'll tell you what. So I'll keep you updated on my bowling progress the same way I did when I got really into it a few months back. But this time, I'm seeing it through. I will bowl a 300. So yeah, you can bet your sweet bippy that the perfect game is on its way. I'm going to be practicing quite a bit again. I'm going to be grinding for it. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. Today, Tampa got hit by a tropical storm. It was nothing huge or anything. It was mainly a glancing blow. It missed us for the most part. But I have no doubt that the gods thought that that'd be enough to keep me off the bowling lanes today, which is just embarrassingly foolish, because they should know. The only storm I believe in is this one right here. 48 pounds of pure tungsten, testosterone, and wet dreams that I launched down the bowling lanes like a fucking asteroid. So, I got a new bowling ball, and it's actually got a little bit of lore behind it. I paid a visit to the lanes where I misplaced my Rhino, and it passed on to the other side. It went straight to Valhalla and hasn't been seen since, God rest its soul. But I decided to ask if there was any chance of recovering it, like maybe it'd been misplaced, in the lost and found or something. It's been many months since I'd been back. And they said that no, it's not there anymore, but they bestowed upon me a gift, which was that Red Storm bowling ball right there. I don't know who the previous owner was, but I'm going to try and do them proud. It could be Pete Weber's previous bowling ball. Who do you think you are? I am. But anyway, I now have a hammer and a storm, so I'm basically just Thor out here. I've got 2 bowling balls, and I decided to break them both in on the lane today to see how they felt. Tropical storm be damned, I've got work to do chasing the perfect game, so here I am going with the storm here, just trying to figure out its quirks. And let me tell you, that puppy hooks left more than my penis. That bad boy just really rips across the lane. Like, I wasn't even putting a whole lot of spin on it. And that would just cut from right to left, like a fucking Star Wars transition screen. But anyway, picked up an easy strike to kick us off here. And immediately just trying to get accustomed to it. So here comes another one, as you can see, kind of more straight. I tried to even take some off, and I still got another Brooklyn for the double. So it's just kind of a learning process right now, figuring out how it reacts to the oil here. And let me tell you, it reacts harder than I do to eating a hot pepper. The reaction to it is just spastic. It's chaotic. So that's something I've got to get used to. But I do like it. I like the way that it hooks super hard. It makes it feel like a bucking bronco that you've got to tame. And then all of a sudden I just threw a fucking wet noodle down there, which was terrible. Now the chess master faces his most difficult obstacle yet, a pretty tough split. But I've picked these up before. Sometimes I'm good for it. And as Carl Wheezer says, "Are you going to finish that croissant?" And my answer is resounding, "Of course I am, Carl. I'm actually just pulling your chain. It's a field goal. Straight down the middle, it's good." So, my perfect game's already ruined here. I can't even really get a great game anymore because now I'm left with an empty frame, which is the shame of all bowlers looking for a perfect game. A couple more bad throws later, and I eventually break the stinker streak by finding the groove again. So I think the technique for this ball in my hands is throwing it a little further out to the right than I'm used to and just letting the ball do a little bit more of the work down there so it hooks a bit harder. So it's something that I've got to dial in on, it's advanced calculations, finding the angle of azimuth, all of that, of course, you know how it goes. But I'm entering into my flow state here, my third eye starts to open, I'm seeing the lines, the threads that hold the universe together. Another beautiful ball right there. Me and the storm are like peanut butter and jelly right now. That 10 pin really wanted to stand up, but I put the fear of God in it, so it said, alright, enough was enough, and it fell to the floor, it laid over. Which I appreciate, it went belly up. Looking for a turkey here to finish this game off, but I gotta be honest with you sports fans, it just wasn't in the card for game 1 here. I line up for another perfect textbook strike, but unfortunately I held onto the ball a little too long and just threw a goddamn urinal cake down there, unfortunately. And for those that don't know, I'm actually automatic when it comes to spares. So my spare game is second to none. I just don't want spares. I'd rather just all strikes, you know what I mean? If you're not first, you're last. So I'd rather just get nothing but strikes and not have to rely on getting spares. But when the time comes, I can get them. Now, the next game I was using my blue hammer to really give that puppy a whirl. And this one just does not cut nearly as hard as the storm. So this is a little bit more what I'm used to here. So that felt good right away. We immediately started sharing the neural load together. We were fucking drifting. So the blue hammer, feeling pretty good. And this game was dedicated to my Rhino, which, I lost, unfortunately. But, I'm sure they gave it a Viking burial somewhere, and hopefully I'll get the cremated ashes at some point, and I can put them on my wall. So immediately getting a double with the blue hammer, things just feel right. But I'm trying to get used to both the blue hammer and the storm, because I do think both can serve a very specific purpose. And right now, the hammer's purpose is getting a fucking beautiful perfect game. So lining up for a turkey here, this is business as usual. And you know I'm good for it. That's 3 for 3. A little Brooklyn to close her out there for the turkey. Feels nice. I'm jacking into the main frame here, staring down the quad, and I'm in a good groove right now. So I'm pretty confident about it, but it's not perfect. Like, I'm not throwing it as hard as I'd like. Like, I'm not launching the lumber the way that I usually like to. I like to aim for like 14 to 15 miles per hour, but right now I'm going about 13-ish. So it's a little too slow here, and it didn't cut nearly enough for that one, unfortunately, so I missed the quad. I then started to tilt a little bit, unfortunately, but my spare game is really optimized, so I've been really practicing hard on this reverse spin here for like the 10 pin, and even in this split situation, I was able to pick it up pretty seamlessly there. So I've really dialed into that, which is nice, but again, I'd rather just be getting all strikes. It does look cool, though. You can't tell me that it doesn't look cool with that reverse spin. I try and get back on the saddle here, and that feels pretty good. And it is pretty good. A few frames of ass eating later, and I'm faced with yet another split, and once again, I'm just kind of nice with it. So pick that puppy up, no problem whatsoever. I then started to go on this fucking flood of 9s, so I kept hitting it pretty much where I want it down the lane, but just ending up with this 10 pin for the most part. But I'd just like to showcase my ability to pick these up now thanks to mastering the reverse spin. It just feels much better. Like, I know that's probably not the optimal way of picking up the 10 pin or really any pins on that side of the lane, but for me, it just feels better taking a light ball, an 8-pounder house ball, and reverse spinning it, just giving that puppy the old what for. I also tried a two-handed technique there you might have caught. I just don't really like the feel of two-hand, so it's just not for me. I just wanted to give it a whirl. But once again, faced with a pin on the right side here, so I give it the old reverse-a-roo, and it's no problem whatsoever. Like a heat-seeking missile, baby. I'm just going to go ahead and let the other frames ride out here, even though there's nothing super impressive about my throws. This was me trying out the two-handed technique and getting nothing but 9s, and picking it up with reverse spin every time. So this is kind of a showcase of the reverse spin more so than anything. The two-hand is nothing special for me. There's really nothing glorious about that, but I really am kind of proud about my reverse mastery here. It's pretty cool. I'm hitting him with that goddamn reverse curse technique, to be honest. Like, it feels good. So, I mean, just look at that. It looks so cool. Bang! And now I know you're wondering, does it work when there's more than one pin cowering in fear on the right side of the lane? And the answer is yes. Of course it does. It works in all types of terrain. Even during a tropical storm, I can pick that shit up no problem with the reverse spin. I have gotten extremely consistent with that. I am putting more fucking spin on that ball than the wind outside during the tropical storm. But it really is sad, though, because this game, I think, could have been a banger, but it was nothing but 9s. Nothing but 9s and then 1-8. But it was all spares, so it still ended up being a pretty decent score. But I'm not bowling for a decent score. I'm bowling for a perfect game, you know what I mean? But it's still a thing of beauty here, hitting these reverse spins on every single fucking spare pickup. By the fourth game, I started getting desperate because the best I was doing was turkey. I wasn't getting more than 3 strikes in a row. And you know how when you start to get on tilt, you start changing your form, like in basketball when your shots aren't hitting, like your 3-point shots off, you start making little adjustments? Well, that's what I started to do. So I started doing like little gallop throws. Like I was basically doing Happy Gilmore bowling for a little bit. And I really didn't hate it. Like, it felt pretty decent. Like, my left leg was getting tired from planning so hard, so I was trying to do things to take some of the pressure off by doing, like, little gallops and little hops up to it. And it was kind of working. Like, the hammer was flying down the lane there, so I was hitting, like, the 15, 14 mile per hour mark, and it was just blowing those pins up. It was like a cannonball getting shot down the lane. It looks very silly. Like, you'll never see a professional bowler use this kind of tactic, this technique, but I mean, it was kind of working. Like, it really wasn't horrible. I then went to another interesting technique where I tried to get, like, much lower and kind of snipe at it a little bit. Like, almost taking, like, a knee while throwing it over there, like doing a fucking lunge. And that didn't feel nearly as good. But then it led to this, which was kind of a stylish pickup. Again, this isn't, like, a crazy split to pick up, but it just looks so cool when you do. Just look at that, threading the needle right down the middle, down the barrel right there, through the fucking gullet. That just looks like a really stylish pickup there on a very small split. But yeah, like I said, this like lunge sniper technique wasn't like my best work, but it wasn't horrible either. Like, I was still able to get some strikes with it. But I don't think that's going to be my go-to strategy for a perfect game. Like, this really was just because my left leg was starting to get fatigued and I was really looking for alternate alternate throwing styles here. So I'm trying all types of, different martial arts disciplines here to take some of the pressure off. Which is kind of shocking because when I was bowling more often, like 5 or 6 months ago, my leg never hurt. But now I turn 30 and all of a sudden things that didn't hurt immediately start hurting. So now I'm getting fucking bowling injuries, which is crazy. Like, getting older is awful. Just actually withering away, it's a horrible feeling. Like, even bowling is starting to be somewhat painful for me. But yeah, anyway, that's where the strike streak stops right there with the sniper technique. Overall, I didn't have any extraordinary games or anything like that. My spares have become really good. Like, I don't usually miss a spare unless I have like a really tough split. But man, I am just not stringing together a lot of strikes at the moment, unfortunately. So I'm still pretty far away from the perfect game, but today was mainly just working the bugs out with the new bowling balls here to really get a feel for them. So I guess I couldn't have expected like a crazy fucking day out of it or anything, but it was still fun to go bowling during a tropical storm. That felt pretty hardcore. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah.